Hey guys, welcome back. Tisha here, back for another chapter reading. This is section 132, A Child Bride Forced into Polygamy by Helga Zeiner. Go ahead and do me a favor and hit the like button as we jump into this next chapter. We are on chapter 14. There had been so much snow this winter, it took until the middle of May before the soft earth had suddenly dried out. After that, it rained every day, not all day long, but often and hard enough to soak the dust dry earth again. Hurrying up to the main house, Martha had to lift her long dress to keep the hemline out of the mud. Emma had told her that June usually was a wet month, and she better enjoy it because from July on it would be unbearably hot again. The climate here was such a nuisance. Either it was too cold or too wet or too hot. Soon, in just a few weeks, one whole year would have passed since Martha had arrived at the bishop's compound, and she had been grateful for many things. Since Anna had been banned from her hut, Martha had enjoyed the solitude there, but her heart would have been heavy with loneliness had not Emma come into her life. Having light-hearted chats and giggles with a woman close to her own age made her feel much less abandoned, and on many occasions, when Emma shared her innermost rebellious thoughts with her, Martha felt honored. She was also grateful that she was allowed back in the kitchen. As long as she performed her duties diligently, Marion and the other sister wives left her pretty much alone. Not knowing how the life of a 14-year-old should or could be like, Martha was grateful for all this, but above all, she was grateful that her husband had not asked for her again. She assumed the sister wives did not burden her with extra tasks or torture her with mean, unreasonable demands because they had no reason to be jealous of her. That's a good point because she's not sleeping with the man, so y'all can have him if you want to. The days were long and full of work, yet she had gladly accepted her fate as long as her husband took no interest in her. In the back of her mind, she always worried that this might change. Every new day, more or less, mirrored the previous one. And sometimes she wondered if it would be like this for the rest of her life. One morning, at the end of June, Martha was called into Marion's small chamber next to the pantry. It was a narrow room at the end of the dark corridor that led to their husband's private quarters. Oh no. I hope she's not getting called back. Marion's office was furnished with a small desk and many, many shelves full of books and folders. Marion spent a lot of time in there, but Martha never had been asked to enter. She searched her mind for what she might have done wrong, but couldn't think of anything. You know where Anna is staying? Marion didn't look up from the journal she was writing in. At the hut up on the mountain. You know the way? Yes, I've been there once. Good. From tomorrow on, I want you to go up there every morning. Martha could see that Marion was adding up some long columns of numbers. Even looking at them upside down, she could still differentiate them. Anna is due soon and can't move around any longer. Our husband is worried about the coming birth. Nothing has happened to this child as he has already lost one precious daughter. Nothing must happen to this child as he has lost one precious daughter already, which saddens him deeply. Somebody needs to check on Anna and spend some time with her. Two rows had already been added up, but one of the sums was wrong. Go there at first light. Take some food from the kitchen, enough for Anna and yourself. You can have your breakfast up there with her. She must stay alert until the baby has arrived. It's all about the baby. And here's the bad thing, if something happens, I wonder if she's going to be blamed. And then what? Martha thought. This question resounded so loud in her mind, she got scared that it might have escaped her mouth. Marion looked up now, without any anger, but with a suspicious expression on her face. To cover any further rebellious thoughts the older woman might notice, Martha concentrated on the numbers again. That one should be 857. I beg your pardon? Now she had done it. Marion would be furious with her, and the Lord only knew what her penalty would be. I'm sorry. What number did you say? 857. Marion wrote it down on a separate piece of paper. Do you understand what I've asked you to do? Yes, I am sorry. I shall make sure Anna does not hurt herself until the child has arrived. I see you are not stupid. Go. Marion wiped her nose with the back of her hand. Walking out, Martha did not see the little smile the first wife was hiding behind this gesture. She also did not see the surprised look on Marion's face when she checked the column and discovered her adding error. Now Martha had something else to be grateful for. To care for Anna was a duty that would allow her to finally sit down and catch up with her former friend again. Martha was eager to find out how Anna was doing after being locked up in the prison hut all by herself for the past 4 months. Surely she would be delighted to have Martha visit her. The next morning, she was so excited she got up even before the sun rose, went to the main house to pick up the food basket for Anna, and hiked up to the small cabin in the woods. Nothing had prepared her for what she found when she had arrived there. Anna's prison was a tiny room with a ceiling so low even Martha could reach it without fully stretching her arm. Oh, wow. But this didn't matter to Anna because she was lying on the floor on a worn out mattress, unable to get up because she was huge with child and too weak to lift herself from the floor. Everything was covered with dust and grime. Within her reach was a dirty plate, a bunched up towel, and some paper bags at what looked like old rags with dry feces smeared on them. My goodness. Anna was unrecognizable. Her hair was matted and had taken on a grayish color. Her skin was of a similar color. She had turned into an old woman. Even her voice was scratchy from lack of use. She sounded like a crow when she tried to say hello to Martha. After a few words, she stopped her futile effort and stared at Martha with feverish eyes. Martha knew that nobody had spoken to Anna since she had been banned from the community. The despair of her own loneliness shortly after her arrival at the compound, when she had to wait for her husband in that cold and lonely room up at the main house, counting the patches on the quilt, was still vivid in her memory. She had came close to losing her mind then, but that was nothing compared to Anna's suffering. It would not have surprised her if Anna had gone completely crazy by now. Martha quickly looked around. Was there possibly a knife hidden amongst the garbage surrounding Anna? She couldn't see anything that remotely resembled a weapon. The sink was unbearable. Martha went to open the door wide and tried to open the window shutters as well, but they were nailed to the walls from the outside. So, y'all want to make this baby survive, yet you have this woman living in conditions where she's not even getting, proper care, or where she's not receiving her nutrients, and she's not getting sun and water and all those things, to the point where Martha is saying that her skin has changed, that her hair is matte. This is horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. She is truly just being used as an incubator. She started to talk to Anna soothingly while she got busy. There was so much to do. Since Anna could not get up anymore, she had not been able to lift the heavy lid from the hole in the ground in the corner of the room that served as a septic pit. Martha shivered. Did they really keep Anna in this room, which was nothing better than a large outhouse? Only when Anna whispered yes did Martha notice that she had murmured this question aloud. Martha did not care, but she kept the next thought that flashed through her mind buried in a silent bitterness. Who was them? Who would do this to Anna? Only her husband and the first wife, Marion, had the power to exercise such cruelty. This was neither the time nor was it Martha's place to put the blame on her superiors, so she bit her tongue. But she would tell Emma. Martha had to leave Anna by midday, otherwise she overstayed and risked not being allowed to come back. Anna begged her not to go, and Martha remembered how grateful she had been for Anna's stolen conversations when the rules had been reversed. I promise I'll be back tomorrow, she said. Anna's pleading farewell echoed in her mind all the way back down from the mountain cabin. It broke her heart. With summer solstice barely past, daylight still lasted until after 10, and all the sister wives continued to work long hours. Martha could hardly wait until the day's activities had settled so she could sneak over to Emma's hut. She had to curb her patience until it was reasonably dark. Her sister wife was feeding her children when Martha knocked on the door. She stuck her head in and asked if Emma had time for her. Emma knew already that Martha had been assigned to look after Anna and told her impatiently to come in. She slipped in and sat down opposite the slim woman who was feeding her youngest with a wooden spoon. The other child was sitting on the floor playing with a doll made of twigs and rags. Both children were too young to understand anything. You must tell me about Anna, urged Emma. How is she doing? Martha had a hard time to describe the indescribable. It was so disgusting, she said. It took me all morning to get the filth out and some fresh air in. Tomorrow I'll take some clean towels and blankets with me. I can take them from the storage room in the main house, can't I? I don't care if Marion finds out. I think Anna has lice. Oh, goodness. Oh, my goodness. I need to shave her hair off and see how I can wash her. Why didn't the sister wife who brought the food up to her every few days look in on her and help her clean herself? Because unless you have permission from Marion, you are not allowed to enter the cabin. And she didn't give it to anybody until now. You know that. How can Marion be so mean? Anna was our husband's favorite. As soon as she came into our family, I was forgotten, which suited me just fine, as you know. But Marion and some of the other wives who still need more children were furious that they were ignored too. See, this is the problem because Marion gets a lot of blame when it's not Marion, it's their husband. He spent all his time with Anna and did not want to do his duty with the others. You know how jealous they can get. He was he always respected Marion as the first until he got smitten with Anna. She had ruled the house. Marion always made a roster every month so every sister wife would have a chance to get pregnant. But when Anna arrived, he refused all the others. Anna was trying to take Marion's place and she nearly succeeded. But when she fell pregnant with her first child, our husband lost all interest in her, as is the normal way with men, and he decided to ask the elders for a new wife, a young one like her. I bet Anna told him we are all too old for him. Then you arrived, but that did not work out as well as he had hoped, I guess. Emma poked her playfully in the side. You little puke baby. Martha turned crimson. Did all the sister wives know? But still, how can they do this to Anna? What has she done that was so terrible? Our husband has condemned her. That's all we need to know. Don't meddle, Martha, but if it makes you feel better, try and make Anna's last days more bearable. That's all you can do. Can't any of us help her? You told me we must stick together. Emma's face closed. She hasn't made friends with any of us. Nobody will lift a finger for her. You are the only one. Martha got up before dawn again and jumped from her crate bed. She had to rush up to the main house and try to steal a bar of soap and some towels. She planned to hike her loot outside the house behind a bush and then go back and pick up the daily food supply for Anna herself. The nights were so short, they never turned really dark. How could she manage to sneak into the main house without the protection of total darkness? Marion lived up there and their husband too. What if one of them got up early, looked out the window, and saw her approaching? What excuse did she have for being there before the kitchen opened? She had to risk it, no matter how fast her silly heart was beating. Anna didn't deserve to die with festering boils on her body and bugs crawling over her scalp. She should be clean and peaceful when she left this world and entered the other. Martha was sure the good Lord on the other side would accept her. He would not be as cruel as the people here on this earth. Her mother had always told her to remember that the joy of heavenly living was the reward from all the suffering one had to endure in preparation for eternity. But Emma had said life in heaven meant that women would have to serve the men there in the same manner on this earth. Now, you mean to tell me that you think that serving a man in heaven is heaven? Ah, nah, I'll pass. Didn't this mean all suffering would continue just the same here in this world and there in the afterlife? What did one make of that? Martha had been thinking about it a lot, and last night, just before she was drifting off, the answer had come to her in amazing clarity. If living in heaven was the same as living here on earth, with their husband and Marion and all other mean sister wives, she did not want to go there. She had woken up with the same thought still in her mind. There must be another heaven, one where people like Anna and herself could go. She would never be with the child, as her husband would never touch her again, and therefore she would always be a slave in his world here and there. The Lord surely had a place reserved specially for wives without children, for the ones who died before they could get married, for the ones who grieved themselves to death, like Anna did over the loss of her baby, for all the innocent ones who had done no harm, but were damned by the teachings of the Scripture. And he that abideth not my law can none wise enter into my glory, but shall be damned, saith the Lord. No, not the Lord. She assured herself, sitting upright with inner excitement. Joseph Smith had said it. He had written down the Doctrine and Covenants as the angel Moroni had revealed to him, but nobody else had ever seen or heard the angel. Martha did not believe in Joseph's writings any longer, not after seeing Anna like that. It was not right and could not be explained or forgiven, not by an angel or by a man who thought he had seen an angel. Suddenly, she felt calm. She felt strong. They could not harm her. If they caught her stealing, they could punish her, but she would always know their excuse for doing so were based on lies. They could punish her again and again and again, but in the end, she would escape them. And while they would have to continue living in their own nightmare, she would move to another heaven where people like Anna were waiting for her. When she opened the door, she saw a parcel on the doorstep. Martha frowned. What was that? Who put it there? She bent down and untied the string around it. Rolled in two brown towels were a bar of soap, a bottle of disinfectant lotion, a comb, a razor sharp knife, scissors, a candle and matches, some bandages, and oh, wonder where the sister wives get that, a strip of Tylenol. Martha nearly cried with gratitude. She gathered her treasures together and quickly went back into her hut, looking around to see if anybody was watching her. She still did not know for sure which sister wife belonged to Emma's supportive circle and could therefore not trust anyone. Obviously, they did not trust her yet either. Otherwise, they would have not put the gift for Anna anonymously on her doorstep. Never mind. She would soon be able to prove that she was one of them. I think that is amazing that these women have now heard what is going on and they want to help out in the way that they can. Um, it says a lot, right? That there is at least a group that's trying to really actually be there for each other. It took 2 weeks. Then Anna's body was clean and all the festering scabs had closed and were healing. Her head was shaved and rid of lice. The mattress had been aired and washed and covered with fresh towels. Anna was Anna always waited until Martha could help her get to the toilet hole in the corner, and Martha always placed the lid back tightly so it did not smell too bad in the tiny room. She had managed to loosen the nails on one of the window shutters. The summer heat made it possible to keep the door and window open all night, and Martha had brought more candles for Anna to light at night because she was scared of wild animals. Every morning she found a new parcel on her doorstep. When she asked Emma one evening how she had managed to collect all those precious supplies, Emma vehemently denied knowing anything about it, so Martha left it at that. Then, after 2 weeks, everything changed. Martha had no experience in childbirth, but she happened to be present when Anna's water broke, and not understanding what this sudden wetness seeping out of Anna meant, got very worried. Anna was in pain, holding her swollen belly and moaning. You need to go and get Marion. My time has come. Your time? You mean the child? Mm, mm. Martha asked Days to fetch Marion and bring her here was impossible. Until now, it had not occurred to her that somebody would find out what she had done. In a mad rush, she started to collect all the evidence she could find. Go quick, go and get her. There is not much time. Anna was moaning louder. Wait, not yet. I need to hide all these things. Martha tried as best as she could to grab everything that did not belong in that cabin. She ran outside and found a small rock formation behind some bushes where she buried them. She covered the spot with earth and small pebbles. Then she ran back inside to find Anna double over in pain. She had always been told childbirth was an enlightening and wonderful experience. The lies. Wait a second. Wait a second. Let me not say the lies. I don't want to sit here and act like I did not experience pure joy when I gave birth. At the end of it, I did. Because, baby, during it, it was very, very painful. I squeezed the mess out of my mother's hand. I actually cursed in front of my mom, which is something that I've never ever done in life except for that one time. Because I had to go to the bathroom and they kept saying, "No, you don't." And I said, "Don't tell me that I don't have the sugar honey iced tea." Yeah. Anyways, so to say that it's enlightening, it is at the end, but there's a lot of pain involved. And once again, it just shows you guys aren't preparing these girls for what's to come at the all. Mm. One look at Anna told her otherwise. Can I leave you alone? Martha was on her way out. Anna pressed her next words out between labored breathing. Yes, go. The child needs to be taken care of. Go. They must come and kill me. Go. They must come and kill me. Oh, goodness. Martha stopped dead and swiveled around. Oh, good Lord, she had forgotten about that. Anna was to die. Don't say that, please. Anna lifted one hand. Did she wave her goodbye? Martha stood still and was unable to decide what to do or how to react. Don't worry, it will be over soon. Go. Martha went. She raced down the hill. Her small feet flew over the narrowing, winding path, avoiding air, roots, and rocks until she arrived at the main house. What normally took her an hour going up and about 40 minutes to go down over in such a short time that she had no breath left to support. Okay, I got to read that over because I jacked that up. What normally took her an hour going up and about 40 minutes down was over in such a short time that she had no breath left to support any thoughts. She had switched her mind over to counting the first 40 or so steps, then it was not necessary anymore to occupy her thinking. All she had to do was run and breathe and run. She bolted into the main house through the kitchen entrance. Only two wives were busy in there. Where's Marion? Martha panted, holding her left side with both hands. Marion appeared like magic. It's Anna. She is what she is to say. She is ready to do what? Ready to die. She is. Martha could not get it Martha could not get it over her lips. Marion immediately took over. She pointed at one of the women. You get Elizabeth. Tell her to come here. Then at the other, you go and tell my son to bring the pickup. We need to get her down here. Then at Martha, you boil some water and leave it on the stove here. Get fresh towels and sheets from the storage and bring everything into the birth room. Glory to the Lord for giving our husband a new child. Nothing must happen to it. Martha still had trouble getting sufficient air into her lungs. What about Anna? What will happen to her? Marion's lips tightened. Do as you were told, then go back to your hut. Birth is not for you to look at. When one of her mother's sister wives had given birth, it had always been a special day. Usually the sisters who assisted told the others as soon as it was over, and except for the one time a baby had been born half deaf. It is malformed, they had whispered loud enough for little Martha to understand. One must wait for it to die. It had always been accompanied by quiet excitement and followed by a festive ceremony. What? Are they saying because the child had been born deaf that they let it die? What? Oh my goodness. But nothing here was like her old home. There had not been a single birth since she had been here. Imagine so many sister wives and not one child in nearly a year. Of course, it should have been her duty to produce one, and she had let down her husband and everybody in the community. But Martha did not feel guilty about that. With her sharpened understanding of how eternity was arranged and her belief that the balance was in her favor, she could care less. All she cared and worried and fretted about was how poor Anna was to be killed. Would they be merciful? Would they let her see her baby before they did it? Who would execute it? Surely her husband. He would have to do it himself because the scripture commanded it. All the huts were deserted. The mothers had taken their children along to the fields for harvesting, where the ones old enough looked after the little ones. Martha was all alone. She sat in front of her hut on the bench and let the sun shine on her face until it got too hot. Then she went to the large tree next to the roadside and sat in its shadow. What would happen when Marion went to Anna's prison and found her well cared for? Would she suspect what she had done? Was that the reason why she had sent her away and not asked her to join the other sister wives? Martha was suddenly very tired. Nothing mattered anymore. Marion would probably condemn her to the prison hut as soon as they had killed Anna. She would have to stay there until she herself would be killed. She had taken matters into her own hands, had made choices all by herself, and had acted as if she saw fit, as she saw fit. Their husband would not spare her when he heard about her disobedience. She promised herself to stay strong. She would not tell who had helped her. Martha smiled when she realized that she couldn't anyway. So clever of Emma and the others for not telling her. She could raise her hand and swear to the Lord that she did not know any of the names. She merely suspected Emma, so she could safely swear that she knew nothing. It did not mean she committed perjury. Do y'all think that it was Emma and her people, or do you think that Marion did it? Y'all tell me what you think, because Marion seems to know a lot of things. So I would think that she might send somebody to go up there and see what's what. But y'all tell me what you think. Okay, chapter 15. Richard Bergman's mobile rang at 7 a.m. Not a good sign. He was not ready for more bad news, and trying to ignore it, continued to inspect his hairline in the bathroom mirror. What he discovered there did not help to lift his spirits. Plucking out the second gray hair in a week, he felt cheated. For Christ's sake, he was only 32 years old, supposedly at an age when a healthy male should be at his peak, supporting a solid crop of wavy black hair. He pinched the flap around his midriff, disgusted with himself. His fingers could grab several inches of fat, all acquired in the last year. If he was honest with himself, he had to admit that those signs of premature aging affected his self esteem quite a bit. Obviously, they were to blame for his diminished sex drive, which had led to the disastrous episode with Rossi. His weakened libido worried him considerably, but that was nothing compared to the gray reminder of his own on his own transience uh, on his head. What? I think there's a spelling error here, but okay. That truly freaked him out. He knew the urge to capitulate would eventually come back, but he had never heard of the miracle of gray hair turning black again. The phone stopped after 5 rings, just before his mailbox could kick in, then started again like the bell ringing in the next round of a major championship bout. Only Daisy would do that. And as his assistant was capable of countless more rounds, he resigned himself to the fact that he might as well take the call. He temporarily abandoned his gray search and its age related depression, went to the kitchen and poured himself fresh coffee. Then he moved phone and mug in his hand into the living room to take the call. On the third ring round, he had settled in the easy chair by the window, had placed his mug with hot coffee on the side table, and took a quick sip while pressing the answering button. The itch is at it again. Trust his considerate Daisy, a name that was, as far as she was concerned, in all its sweetness and simplicity, incredibly deceiving to alert him. One word. Ooh, it's only 7 o'clock, and yesterday's meeting didn't even finish till midnight. Do you have any idea when I went to bed? Sorry. Daisy's voice was dripping with satisfaction. She would never say, I told you so. She did not need to. By now, he knew that he should have trusted her instincts when she had warned him of taking on the overwhelming task of such a huge subdivision. It might not have been too late to get out of the deal, but no, stubborn as he was, he had not listened to her. He should have kept his emotions out of such an important business decision. Falling in love with a piece of land, how ridiculous was that? And above all, he should have researched the potential deal better before he nosedived into it with a big fat grin on his face. Never before in the past 10 years had he let his heart rule his head in such a way. He should have done his homework. If more trouble came his way, those bloodless, condescending know it alls who come out of their safe hiding places, usually only after something has gone wrong, would rub their hands and gloat, I told you so. Of course, Daisy was not one of those patronizing bastards. She had warned him once in the beginning, even before he had noticed that any problems even existed, and had then kept her mouth shut and switched to damage control. That's why he considered her not only his personal assistant, but also his business confidant, his shield and armor. Since instigating the subdivision process, she had patiently dealt with various government servants in charge of handling the different requirements. Unfortunately, the three major players assigned to this subdivision were known to be overzealous, which made them exceptionally difficult to work with. And as Daisy, an ardent feminist, said, sadly, they were all female. She called them the Killer Bee Commandos. Which one is it this time? Jean D'Arc. He sighed. Daisy loved to give her opponent's labels. It was her way of working off some of her inner frustrations while keeping her cool. Most people she had to deal with, as well as her other colleagues in his company, were totally fooled by her flawless show off, soft spoken diplomacy and mild mannered diligence. Only he knew that she was even capable of bad mouthing, and only he knew deeper meaning of those nicknames, like um, Jean d'Arc had been a famous self appointed female soldier in medieval France who had a knack for convincing a hell of a lot of otherwise quite sane people, including the king himself, to join her lost cause because some strange voices had told her to. At least that was what Richard remembered from his history class. Obviously, Daisy felt that their very own Jean d'Arc, who was the government appointed approving officer for their project, a vicious lady who delighted in creating unnecessary delays, um was also a fierce fighter in a lost cause. At least he liked to think that, as his AO would lose the battle against him in the end. The thought alone made him feel better. What does she want this time? It's bad. He waited, still not overly concerned. In the past weeks, Jean d'Arc had come up with a number of totally absurd requests designed to make him, the disgusting developer who was in the game simply to get filthy rich, suffer by the strength of her almighty power. Deep in her heart, she probably resented being an indirect contributor to the land development process. She objects to us building a road over the easement. You must be kidding. For what reason? She doesn't need one. She's the AO. But he stopped himself before wasting his breath on useless arguments. An approving officer was a legal entity outside the political arena to ensure that the holder of this position would stay as incorruptible as a Catholic priest, an oxymoron, of course, as if an ecclesiastical employee would not misuse his power. confidently hiding under his cloak of supreme holiness. The AO could do within reason as he or she saw fit. Unfortunately, those boundaries were often determined by the degree of self love or loathing when waking up. Apparently, Jean didn't like herself most mornings. The mail came in yesterday evening, but I didn't want to disturb your meeting with the lawyers. You should have. Maybe there are legal grounds to challenge her on that one. He could picture Daisy shaking her head with lenient patience. Been there. The rules were changed about 2 years ago. No more subdivision over easements. Damn those new rules. Two sides of his parcel bordered on crown land, but as Daisy had discovered after the sale had gone through, the stretch between the southern border of his land and the only rural road in the area was owned by somebody else. This somebody had granted the previous owner of the land, Bob, his father, or maybe even his grandfather, an easement to make it accessible. Even when Daisy informed him of this not totally unusual arrangement, he had not been worried. All his previous subdivisions had had direct access, so the problem of access by easement over foreign property had never been an issue. The offending stretch of land in question was less than 600 meters wide, and his plan was to build a connecting road over the easement so that the future owners could get to their lots. And now the law would not allow him to do so, effectively cutting him off from his own land and making it useless for any kind of development. That sounds crazy. That sounds crazy. That was very bad indeed. So, what does she suggest? Daisy hesitated. The government does not. Oh, excuse me. The government does have a solution for such a case, right? Actually, no. What do you mean? They let us buy the land but refuse us access? You have access, but you can't subdivide it because it's only by easement. This is crazy. This is crazy. God damn, he says that a lot. Oh my goodness. Oh, Lord forgive me for how much I gotta say that. Anyways, GD. If I say GD, that's what I mean. GD, the effing government. Who makes those GD rules? Who do you think they are? Who do they think they are? An unpleasant but very familiar feeling was rising inside him, like fog drawn out of a cold mountain lake by the upcoming sun. It was pure, still undefined anger, and he knew he needed to suppress this surge of nubilis outrage before it could turn into threatening thunderclouds of uncontrollable and counterproductive fury. He regulated his breathing. They can't make new rules without offering solutions for such cases. Actually, he knew perfectly well what it was not the government's job to come up with an answer. That it was not the government's job to come up with an answer. It was his job. Daisy, he urged her, I'm listening. As this stretch of land is privately owned, it is of no concern to Jean. We should have considered this before we bought. Is that what she said? Yes. He felt like strangling her. The queen of the killer bees, not Daisy, the messenger. She also said we were welcome to send our complaints to the MLA or the premier or whoever you think might listen to you. It's not going to change her mind and will not help us at all. Stuck up itch. Now he was really livid. They had been working this deal nonstop for nearly 1 year. Now he had regularly emailed information on progress to the local politicians just to make sure the various government agencies involved knew they were being monitored. Maybe that had not been such a brilliant idea after all. The AO's uncooperative attitude was her little revenge trip. Somebody should cut her down to size. Maybe, but that shouldn't be you, my dear, said Daisy. She knew how quickly he could fly off the handle. Right, okay. Let me think about this for a while. I'll call you back. Good boy. Daisy hung up. He carried his coffee mug back to the kitchen to refill it and returned to his favorite chair by the window, sipping the streaming strong brew. He stared out the tinted floor to ceiling window without registering the spectacular view over a slowly awakening metro Vancouver. He pondered his next move. Once his initial anger had subsided, it made room for a weird feeling of disillusionment. It was not like him to be easily discouraged and frustrated. To purchase the land and set up the subdivision process had cost him all the financial resources his company had accumulated so far, and then some. To cover the shortfall, he had called in the goodwill of every bank he had dealt with. He had worked like crazy day and night to get the requested surveys done, archaeological, geological, and every other logical the killer bees could think of. Had aerial photos converted into three-dimensional maps, had sweated over the best dividing borderlines of the many lots, considered the lake shoreline, the hilltops, the valleys, and had submitted near perfect preliminary plans. From the beginning, everything had seemed more difficult than with his previous projects, but he assumed that was how it felt when you placed a high bet. You lose some of your appetite, you lose some of your urge to chase after every sweat smelling doe in the nightly hunting grounds. You stay in the office, excuse me, till midnight, go home without hitting the pubs, and then you can't sleep because you can't switch off those twirling fragments of pros and cons formulated in endless meetings and conferences throughout the day. Not very pleasant, this obsessive contemplation, but necessary, he had thought. No pain, no gain. After all he had already gone through, had Jenny d'Arc now raised the bar again? Did this new turn get him not closer but further away from reaching the prize? How could he overcome an obstacle which was so obviously out of his control? To change a governmental regulation was pretty much impossible, and if he could not find ways around it, it would not only jeopardize his whole concept, it would ruin him. A chilling thought that made him shiver. He reached for his coffee mug again. The aircon in his penthouse was set at 20 degrees, just as he liked it, and he should have not felt cold. Maybe he was coming down with the flu. Maybe he should take a break, go out and divert himself from this permanent fretting over the deal. He shivered again. The deal that should be rock solid by now was turning into quicksand because he could not provide legal access to his land, his own land. While he pondered this thought with deep fret, indignation, a possible solution to the problem dawned on him and made him forget that he was cold and depressed. Of course, you fool, he told himself. That's it. It's my land. I'm the owner. This sudden inspiration lifted his spirits, making his heart muscles contract faster, pumping blood through his veins, which in turn lifted the fog in his brain even more. He grabbed the phone and dialed Daisy's number. She answered right away. So, what have you come up with? It's so simple. I wonder why you didn't come up with the answer. Nothing. She didn't take the bait. How long will it take you to find out who owes the land between the road and our border? Already did. Sometimes she was so annoying. He wanted to shake her. Just as well, she had spent most of the last few weeks in their Camp Bloom's office to coordinate the subdivision process from there, while he mostly worked out of Vancouver. And it's registered it is a registered farm belonging to a guy called Jake S. Law. He owns that stretch in question, plus about 500 acres east of our land. That's what he liked about Daisy. She called it our land. I got his address and phone number. He seems to live there on a farm by himself. Well, call him and make him an offer. Not for all of his land, of course, only for as much as we need to build a road. I knew you would come up with this, but I think it's best if I drive up and present the offer to him in person. If that's how you want to do it, sure, why not? Some people don't understand things over the phone. Exactly. I have the plans with me and I can sit down and show him what we want to do. He should like the idea. It upgrades his own land and makes it more valuable. I've already made arrangements. I need to get things organized in the office first and thought I'd leave Friday morning. If you can wait that long, go tomorrow. This has to be top priority. She made him suffer on purpose. See, I like Daisy. I like Daisy girl. You all right with me? Can't. Why not? Personal reasons. Daisy, you've got no personal life. She didn't reply. He gave up. What if he's not there? Then I'll wait for him. He's a farmer. He won't be far. How high should I go? What a question. As low as possible and as high as necessary. Our cash flow is rapidly drying up, but we need this land done. And Daisy, remember, he's just a simple farmer. He won't have a clue how valuable his land is to us. Take a sales contract with you. Fill it out as soon as you agree on the price and have him sign the damn thing on the spot. Call me as soon as it's done. We've got to push this thing through now. After she hung up, he felt a lot better. Being forced into a corner was not his favorite position. For a short while, he had felt exposed and powerless and had not liked it at all. It would it would all work out now. Daisy would fix it. That's what he paid her for. She would get the job done. And that's where we're ending it, y'all. How do I feel about this chapter? I feel like they gave us a lot of stuff when it came to Richard's chapter, but I get what they're doing here. They're letting us see all the things, or I should say, she is Helga is letting us see all the things that's going to build up to him moving. I wonder if that land has to do something with the polygamous community. I guess we'll see. Anyways, let me know what you thought of this reading. Thank you guys so much. Do me a favor and make sure, if you haven't done so already, that you like the video because it does help the channel. Until next time.